What is going on, everybody? Welcome to or back to Ryder's Record Collection. My name is Carl. This is going to be another Albums of the Month series. I've been slacking on this in a big way. I missed April and I missed May, so for that I apologize. If you're new to the channel, the whole goal with my Albums of the Month thing is my YouTube channel started from my Instagram channel, or my Instagram page rather, where I have a list of all the albums in my record collection, and I try to post those albums on the day they were released with some stats. That segued into a series that I want to do on this YouTube channel, where basically I've got 6 albums here that are having some pretty big birthdays of or album anniversaries of some various ages, and I want to show those, tell you a little bit about them, and the days they were released, how old they're turning, in the hopes of either you having this album in your collection and listening to it, or finding out about some new music that you might not have heard about. So this is the June 2021 Albums of the Month. Again, I missed April and May, so for that I apologize. Going forward, I'm going to have these out on the first of every month, so here's June. And we'll kick it out with an album that's turning 50, which was released in June 1971, and this is John McLaughlin, My Goals Beyond. If you're unfamiliar with who John McLaughlin is, he is an English guitarist, bandleader, and composer. He's a pioneer of jazz fusion, and his music combines elements of jazz with rock, world music, Indian, classical music, Western music, classical music, and blues. He's played alongside many jazz greats, including Miles Davis on his electric jazz fusion albums A Silent Way, Bitches Brew, Jack Johnson, and On the Corners. So he is a very well-known guitarist. He's been ranked on Rolling Stone's Best of Guitarists of All Time and featured on many Best of Guitarists lists. So this is his 1971 third studio album overall. So this album is very influenced by Indian music, and he dedicated this to his spiritual leader, an Indian guru whose name I'm not even going to begin to try to pronounce. But this is just really out there, jazz, fusion, world fusion. It's got a lot of different types of instruments on it, including soprano saxophone, flute, violin, and Indian percussion, along with him playing an acoustic guitar for most of the album. The first side of the album is 2 long tracks called Piece 1 and Piece 2. And side 2 of the album actually features some covers by some pretty well-known people. Goodbye Pork Pie Hat by Charles Mingus he covers. Blue and Green by Miles Davis he covers. And A Waltz for Bill Evans he covers. So side 2, I believe, is 3 originals and 5 covers. And as I mentioned, this is a world fusion, jazz fusion album. Very good, very interesting. Not my normal run-of-the-mill record that I have in my collection, but this was a gift from my uncle. You can see his name on the back right here. My Uncle Chunk was kind enough to give this to me, and I like it. It's a good listen. So like I said, this month, June 2021, this is turning 50, and it was released in June 1971. And it is a pretty interesting out there album. But if you have it in your collection, spin it. It's turning 50. And if you haven't heard of it, check it out on YouTube. It's definitely worth the listen to say that you have heard it. So John McLaughlin, My Goals Beyond. This next album is a lane change. It's a little bit younger. This is turning 40. This was released in June 1981. This was released in June 1981, so like I said, it's turning 40. This is Peter Tosh, Wanted, Dread and Alive. If you haven't heard of Peter Tosh, he's a Jamaican reggae artist who, alongside Bob Marley and Bunny Wailer, was one of the core musicians in the Wailers from 1963 to 1976, after which he established himself as a successful solo artist, who unfortunately was shot and killed in 1987 in his home in Jamaica during a robbery gone wrong. But this is his 5th studio album overall. The most popular song on here is the song, the title track, Wanted, Dread and Alive, made popular by the movie Pineapple Express. If you've seen Pineapple Express, you've heard the title track of this song, or of this album. The lead single is a song called Nothing But Love, and it was a duet. But this is just a good roots reggae album. Some of the standout tracks that I recommend you check out is Fools Die, Rastafari Is, Wanted Dread and Alive, Coming in Hot, The Poor Man Feel It, Cold Blood. I mean, this is just really good from start to finish. So as I mentioned, this is turning 40, and this is actually a release on Rolling Stone Records. So that's kind of a cool little side note there that EMI America and Rolling Stone Records were putting out reggae albums. So gotta love the Stones for dabbling in all those different types of music. And as I mentioned, released June 1981, turning 40 in June 2021, a really good roots reggae album. If you have this in your collection, give it a spin. It's turning 40 this month, and if you haven't heard of it, I suggest you check out the song Wanted Dread and Alive. If you've seen Pineapple Express, like I said, you've heard it, but that would be the song that I recommend you check out. So Peter Tosh, Wanted Dread and Alive, turning 40 in 2000. And this next release can get its driver's license here in the United States. This is turning 16, and the next 4 albums that I have that I'm going to show actually have official dates in the month of June that they were released. But this was released June 7th, 2005, and on June 7th, 2021, it is turning 16, so it can get its driver's license. And this is the White Stripes, Get Behind Me, Satan. If you're unfamiliar who the White Stripes are, they are an American rock duo from Detroit, Michigan, formed in 1997, who disbanded in 2011, and they most recently put out a pretty killer greatest hits compilation called My Sister and I Thank You. The White Stripes are a killer band. I really enjoy them. This is their 5th studio album overall. Their previous to this was Elephant, and this is a huge difference stylistically than Elephant. Elephant was really riff heavy, straightforward, just hard rock and roll, and this is much more piano driven, slower. They have a lot more melodies, and there's experimentation with a lot of different guitars and music on this. This isn't Jack White doing the supersonic punk blues that Jack White had been doing up until this point. So this is a very interesting listen for that specific reason. In 2006, this won the Grammy Award for the Best Alternative Album, and it's really good. There's some killer tracks on this. Some of my favorite songs from this are Blue Orchid, My Doorbell, The Denial Twist, Passive Manipulation, and Red Rain. There are some weird songs on this too, like The Nurse, Little Ghost, but overall just a really good album. So as I mentioned, this is turning 16 on June 7th, 2021. So if you have this in your collection, play it, give it a spin. It's a killer album. And if you have Elephant, listen to Elephant and then go and listen to this, and you'll see what I'm talking about with just the major difference stylistically, although not a bad album, but a definite turn. And this is kind of where I think the White Stripes started to get really weird. I believe after this was Icky Thump, which was, if I'm not sure, their final album, which was a really weird album, but very good album overall. So turning 16 on June 5th, 2021, released June 5th, 2005. So if you have it in your collection, give it a spin, and if you don't, I would check out Blue Orchid, My Doorbell, The Denial Twist, or Red Rain. And yeah, we're getting a little old with this next one again. This was released June 20th, 1966, and this is turning 55. This is the Beatles, Yesterday and Today. I don't think I need to explain who the Beatles are. If you have been living under a rock, Google the Beatles and you'll have all the information you need. This is the infamous Butcher cover album. Very hard to find, very sought after. This is not a Butcher cover. This is just a regular old repress, but this was released in the United States and Canada, and it's their 9th album issued on Capitol Records and their 12th American release overall. As I mentioned, on June 20th, 2021, this is turning 55. It was released on June 20th, 2006. This album came about because Capitol had a way of not releasing the same track listing on Beatles albums as they did in the UK. So this contains songs that Capitol had withheld so far on other configurations of the band's recent albums. along with non-album singles. It's got 11 tracks featuring songs from Help, Rubber Soul, and at the time, the new 1966 recordings that would appear on Revolver in countries outside of North America. This has this track listing overall is really good. Drive My Car, I'm Only Sleeping, Nowhere Man, Dr. Robert, Yesterday, Act Naturally. Side 2 is And Your Bird Can Sing, If I Needed Someone, We Can Work It Out, What Goes On, and Day Tripper. This is a nice blend of like poppy Beatles coming into their form and Rubber Soul and Revolver Beatles getting into their form, and the transition point of what they would continue on to do. Really good little snapshot here in these 11 tracks. Really, really good album overall. Like I said, I don't need to explain who the Beatles are. So on June 20th, 2021, this is turning 55. So if you have this in your collection, give it a spin. Great album, great little snapshot of where they were at the time. So like I said, June 20th, 2021, turning 55. If you have it, give it a spin. So this next album is one of my greatest Goodwill finds I think I've ever had, and this was released on June 22nd, 1971. It's turning 50 on June 22nd, 2021, and this is Joni Mitchell, Blue. This is an album that I admittedly do not spend enough time with. Like I said, this was a killer thrift store find. I walked into Goodwill one day, and it's got some ringwear, but the vinyl itself is pristine. Walked into Goodwill one day, didn't expect to find anything, but every time I go there, I look through the records and paid $1 for this. So Joni Mitchell, if you don't know who she is a Canadian singer-songwriter who does folk, pop, classic, and has a lot of songs that reflect on social commentary, philosophical ideas, and her feelings about romance, life, joy, sadness, the whole gauntlet, basically. This is her 4th studio album and is arguably her most famous. This is the album that is most mentioned throughout history up until now, and it is number 3, I think, on Rolling Stone's list of their 500 greatest albums of all time. The highest album ranked up there by a female artist, so that is a pretty good accolade. So this was written and recorded entirely by Joni Mitchell, and it was recorded just after her breakup with Graham Nash, and right when she was getting into a very hot and heavy relationship with James Taylor. And the songs on this range from infatuation to insecurity, and like I said, with the songs that she covers in general, the whole gauntlet of emotions in between. And as I mentioned before, it is regarded by many as one of the greatest albums of all time, and it's an album that I admittedly need to spend more time with. It is folk and folk rock, and it's just Joni Mitchell and her guitar. Not a lot of studio embellishments. It's pretty raw, pretty out there, pretty good. I mean, I listened to it today in preparation for this video, and it's gonna spend some more time on the turntable here coming up. But June 22nd, 2021, this is turning 50. It was released on June 22nd, 1971. I need to play it a few more times, and if you have it in your collection, give it a spin because it's turning 50 on June 22nd. And last but certainly not least, for June 2021, we have an album that is turning 45 from an iconic band and the debut of one of the most iconic labels in rock music, the Grateful Dead, Steal Your Face, with the Steal Your Face logo. If you're unfamiliar with who the Grateful Dead are, they're an American rock band formed in California, known for their blend of rock, folk rock, country, blues, and psychedelic music, and for their live performances. Very prolific live band. But this album is called Steal Your Face. This was released on June 26, 1976, making this 45 years old on June 26, 2021. This is a double live album by the Grateful Dead, recorded from October 17th to 20th, 1974 at San Francisco's Wonderland Ballroom during what was called at the time a farewell run. There was a lot of touring issues. Pigpen had just died. It was costing them a lot of money. They had a lot of staff. This was supposed to mark the beginning of an indefinite hiatus. However, the hiatus didn't last very long. They started recording Terrapin Station several months after that. Not even several, just a few months after that. So this was the start of a extended hiatus. But really good album overall. Like I said, the Grateful Dead are a very good live band. I have this and I have Europe 1972. So they have a lot of live releases. Actually, pretty much every record store day, they're doing another live release of the Grateful Dead. But June 26, 2021, this is turning 45, a iconic logo from an iconic band. Really, really good live album by this band. And double LP. Some of the standout tracks are Promised Land, Mississippi, Half Step Uptown Toledo, Ship of Fools, Black Throated Wind, Sugaree, and Casey Jones. Actually, all the side 4 is really good. But as I mentioned, live concert from October 17th, 20th, 1974, and June 26, 2021 is turning 45, released on June 26, 1976. So this was the last album that I'm going to point out and highlight in the June 2021 albums of the month. As I mentioned, the whole point of this is to just, hopefully point out some albums that you have in your collection that you can get jazzed. You're going to have big birthdays or big album anniversaries, and you can listen to them. And if you haven't heard any of these albums or some of these bands that I've mentioned, for you to check it out. The whole point of this is to talk music and hopefully show you guys some new music. If you have any albums in your collection that are having some big birthdays or big anniversaries this month, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know. I'd love to check them out. I'm all about checking out new music myself. So this was the 2021 June albums of the month. As I mentioned, I'm sorry I missed the last 2 months. I will get better at this, and going forward, try and have them out on the first of every month. So I'm Carl. This is Ryder's Record Collection. If you like this video, please throw it a like. If you like the channel, please consider subscribing. Thank you all again for helping me surpass 100 subscribers. It's really awesome. And until the next time, spin some wax, spin some of these albums if you have them, and cheers.